Picture a stone cup, still half full, sitting untouched on a table for over 1,000 years. Whoever set it down never came back to finish their drink. This isn't a ghost story. It's real archaeology, unearthed deep in a Guatemalan jungle city called Aguatica. Someone was grinding maize. Someone else was carving a jade bead. And then, mid-task, they simply stopped. Tools lay scattered across the floor, exactly where hands dropped them. Meals sat half-eaten. A loom still held its unfinished cloth. Archaeologists call it a Pompeii moment, one single day frozen in time. Except no volcano ever buried this place. Something far stranger emptied it out instead. And Aguatica was nowhere near alone. Across the southern Maya lowlands, dozens of great cities fell silent within roughly the same 100 years. Tikal, Copán, Calakmul, Palenque, cities that had thrived for 6 centuries, with pyramids rivaling European cathedrals in height. By the year 950, most of them stood empty. Jungle roots were already splitting their plazas apart. So what happened to a civilization at its peak? One that had mapped the stars and fed 1 million people. The answer starts, oddly enough, at the bottom of a lake. Scientists drilled deep into the mud of Lake Chichancanab in the Yucatan, pulling up a timeline written in sediment. Layer after layer of gypsum crystal told them something brutal. This land endured droughts lasting decades, not seasons. Rainfall dropped by as much as 40% during the worst stretches, right as the Maya population reached its peak. And here's the cruel twist. The Maya may have deepened their own drought. To feed millions, they stripped the rainforest bare for farmland, cutting down the very trees that pulled rain from the sky. Fewer trees meant less moisture rising into the clouds. Less rain meant fewer crops. It was a spiral with no easy way out. But the kings of Maya didn't respond by planting more forest or storing more grain for the lean years ahead. They built bigger temples instead. At Copán, rulers kept commissioning towering stelae, monuments carved to prove they still held favor with the gods. The message carved into stone was simple. Trust me, I control the rain. Except the rain kept failing, harvest after harvest, year after year, no matter how tall the monuments grew. Deep inside sacred sinkholes called cenotes, archaeologists have found offerings that reveal quiet desperation, not calm ritual. Jade, incense, and even human remains were sent down into the dark water. Gifts to the rain god, Chuk. It reads like a civilization bargaining harder and harder with a god who had simply stopped answering. Skeletons from this era tell their own story. Bones grow thinner. Teeth carry the stress lines of childhood hunger. Malnutrition climbed at the exact moment the palaces kept getting grander. Imagine standing in a plaza, watching a ruler dedicate a monument in gold and jade, while your own children go to bed hungry. At some point, that gap between promise and reality becomes impossible to keep ignoring. And that's when the second collapse began, not of rainfall this time, but of trust. At Piedras Negras, archaeologists found something remarkable. The king's own throne deliberately smashed into pieces. Not looted for its stone, destroyed on purpose. Someone wanted that seed of power gone completely. Elsewhere, carved portraits of rulers were defaced, faces chiseled clean off the stone, as if to erase them by name. This wasn't random violence. It looks like rebellion, aimed straight at the very idea of kingship. Warfare between rival cities spiked in these final decades, recorded in hieroglyphs boasting of captured kings and burned temples. City-states that once traded and intermarried now raided each other for the last of the dwindling farmland. Picture the pressure: failing crops, starving families, and now a neighboring city sending warriors instead of grain. Some cities scrambled to build walls at the last minute. Hasty defenses around palaces that had never needed protection before. At Aguatica, that wall still stands today, thrown up in a panic right before the fires came. Because that's how Aguatica's story ends. Not drought alone, but an attack, and then flames. The people living there grabbed almost nothing and ran, leaving behind the meal, the tools, the half-finished bead. But here's the detail that should stop you cold. They never came back. Not that week. Not that year. Not ever. The jungle simply grew over the doorway and kept growing. Across the lowlands, this same pattern repeats. People didn't vanish into thin air. They walked away, one city at a time. Many fled north toward the Yucatan, where water still pooled deep inside limestone caverns. There, cities like Chichen Itza rose up to take the place of the ones left behind in ash and silence. The Maya people never disappeared. Millions of their direct descendants live across the region today. What collapsed wasn't a people. It was a system. Kings, harvests, and rain all promised to hold together forever. Somewhere under that jungle canopy, a cup is still sitting exactly where it was set down, waiting for a hand that never returned. If a civilization this brilliant could walk out of its own cities in a single generation, what does that tell us about the ones we're building right now? If forgotten cities and vanished civilizations pull at you the way they pull at us, subscribe and come uncover the next lost world with us.